I'm Sanjay and you're watching this video on biologics. So today we are going to start a series in which we will only talk about the DNA. Okay, so this series is going specifically for the DNA, and it comes, you will find this series in my playlist of biochemistry. Okay, so let's start. So we'll talk about today DNA. Okay, so DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, so when we study any topic, we should always go into the history of that particular topic to understand it very clearly. Okay, so we'll start with the history. Okay, so whenever we talk about the DNA, we hear about two people, Watson and Crick. Okay, they worked on DNA structure, and for that they got Nobel Prize in 1962. Okay, but there were one another person also who got Nobel Prize along with Watson and Crick, and he was Maurice Wilkins. Okay, but most of us do not remember Maurice Wilkins. Okay, so they combinedly worked on the DNA structure and got Nobel Prize in 1962. Okay, so they discovered the structure in 1953. 1953 discovered the DNA structure, that the most famous DNA structure known as Watson-Crick model. Okay, but the base of their DNA structure came from the a photograph that was acquired by almost 2 years ago in 1951. In 1951 by Rosalind Franklin. Okay, so she was the first person who acquired the first photograph of DNA, that is known as photo 51. Okay, so she acquired this photograph 51 of DNA through X-ray diffraction, and this photograph 51 Watson, Crick and Maurice Wilkins used to propose the double helical DNA structure. Okay, so this was all about the DNA structure. But who was the person who first isolated the DNA structure? Okay, so he is Frederick Miescher. And almost 90 years ago from the discovery of DNA structure by Watson and Crick, in 1869 Frederick Miescher isolated the DNA from the nucleus of eukaryotic cell. Okay, and what was the eukaryotic cell? It was WBC, white blood cell. Okay, so Frederick Miescher was basically working on the infection part. Okay, so what he did, he took the bandage from infection and he washed away all the pus cells. Okay, and he isolated the white blood cell from there, and then isolated a molecule which he termed then nuclein, because it was isolated from the nucleus, which is now known as DNA or nucleic acid. Okay, so this was all about the discovery of DNA structure and isolation of DNA structure for the first time. Okay, now we will move towards the discussion of DNA structure. So today we will discuss about the structure of DNA. Okay, that is known as deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid, right? So deoxyribo is termed because it has deoxyribose sugar. Okay, and nucleic is because of its isolation. So it was first isolated from the nucleus, that's why it is termed as nucleic. And acid because it contains phosphoric acid, that's why acid is there. So it is known as deoxyribonucleic acid. Okay, first thing we will discuss about the composition. Okay, so what is the composition of DNA? So DNA is composed of three things. One is sugar, okay, that may be ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar, right? Second thing is phosphate, okay, and third thing is nitrogenous base. So this is the composition of DNA. Okay, so I am not going into the detail of composition because I have already made a video specifically on the composition of nucleic acid. So you can go and watch that video, and I have provided the link of this video in the description box. Okay, so you can go and watch. Now second thing is we will discuss about the location of DNA. Location of DNA. So DNA is mainly located in the nucleus of eukaryotic cell and nucleoid of prokaryotic cell. Okay, so do you know the difference between the nucleus and nucleoid? If you don't know, then prokaryotic cells used to store its genetic material in the nucleoid, so it is less developed, poorly organized, and lacks the membrane. On the other hand, nucleus is well organized, well developed, and it has membrane, okay, around it. So eukaryotic cells store its genetic material in the nucleus, and prokaryotic cells store its genetic material in the nucleoid. So DNA is found in the nucleus in eukaryotic cell and nucleoid in the prokaryotic cell. Okay, now third thing is we will discuss about the structure. Okay, so when you will stretch the DNA from the nucleus, will be like this. Okay, so I have tried to draw in a very representative way so that you can understand the origin of the DNA and as well as the structure. Okay, so in the structure we will discuss about that. You can see here that this DNA is the double stranded because it has two strands. Okay, one is this strand and second is this strand, so that therefore it is double stranded. Okay, second thing that you will be seeing here that it is in the shape of helical. Okay, that's therefore it is helical in shape. Okay, or you can call this as helix shape also. Okay, third thing is that you can see here that this is thymine, nitrogenous base, and this is adenine. Okay, so adenine always pairs with the thymine and guanine always pairs with the cytosine. So adenine is complementary to thymine and guanine and cytosine are complementary to each other. Okay, so as the nitrogenous base is present in both the strands are complementary to each other, that therefore both the strands are also complementary. So strands are complementary. So complementary strands. Okay, now next thing is you can see here that each strand starts with the 5' end and it will end with the 3' end. Okay, so if you will cut the DNA from here, then it will start from the 5' end and it will end with the 3' end. Okay, 3' end. And another strand, if it starting from the 5' end, it will end with the 3' end. Okay, that's why it is anti-parallel. Okay, anti-parallel Okay, because both the strands are in opposite direction. One is from 5 prime to 3 prime direction and another is 3 prime to 5 prime direction. Okay, so this was the some of the characteristic of DNA structure. Next thing that we'll going to discuss is about base pairing. Okay, base pairing. Base pairing. Okay, so as I already told you that in the structure of DNA there are 4 type of nitrogenous bases. Okay, and they are A, T, G and C. Okay, and remember that A always base pairs with the thymine and the bond is double bond. Okay, so A and adenine and thymine are bonded with the double bond. Okay, and there is triple bond present between the G and C. So guanine and cytosine are always base pair with each other. So guanine and cytosine are complementary and adenine and thymine are complementary. So the concept of base pairing in the DNA structure is this: A and T base pair with each other and guanine and cytosine base pair with each other. Okay. Next thing is the diameter of DNA. Okay, so about diameter, you might be heard about the diameter that it is around approximately 20 angstrom. Okay, you know that the diameter of the DNA is 20 angstrom. It means the width of the DNA is 20 angstrom. But this is the outer diameter. Okay, this is the outer diameter. Outer diameter, that is approximately 20 angstrom. But most of us do not know the inner diameter of DNA. That is, inner diameter is 11 angstrom, around 11 angstrom. Now you might be thinking that what is the inner diameter of DNA? So inner diameter is the area of base, you can say. Okay, the point of attachment of base, like the base is attached from here, okay, to here. So the diameter will come around this region. So this is inner diameter, that is 11 angstrom. Okay, so this will be like this, 11 angstrom. So there are 2 diameters in DNA. Always remember, one is inner diameter and another is outer diameter. So inner diameter is 11 angstrom and outer diameter is 20 angstrom. Okay, next thing is the length of a complete turn. Okay, length of one complete turn is, so like if we starting from here, then the complete one turn will be till here. Okay, so the length of one complete turn is 34 angstrom. Okay, or you can say 3.4 nanometer. Okay, now this is the length. So this is the length of DNA, and that is 34 angstrom. Okay, now next thing is that there are 10 base pairs comes in the one complete turn. Okay, so what is the distance between 2 base pairs? You can count here that in one complete turn there are 10 base pairs. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Okay, so 10 base pairs are present in one complete turn. Okay, so from here you can calculate the distance between two base pairs. Okay, so distance between two base pair is distance between two base pairs will be, it is very simple to calculate. You can see here that the length of one complete turn is 34 angstrom. Okay, 34 angstrom and 34 angstrom, and there are 10 base pairs present in one complete turn. Okay, so we will divide this by 10, so it will come 3.4 angstrom. So the distance between two base pairs is 3.4. Okay, so next thing is about the Chargaff's rules. Okay, so what is Chargaff's rule? Irving Chargaff concluded that if there will be T present in the one strand, then there will be A will be present in the another strand. Okay, so because A and T are complementary to each other. Okay, so the amount of T will always equal to the amount of A, and similarly for the G and C. So G will always equal to amount of C. Okay, so A will always equal to T and G will always equal to C. Okay, so here you know that this A and G, they are purines. Okay, and this T and C, they are pyrimidines. So purine is always equal to pyrimidine in the double helical structure of DNA. Okay, so we can also write like this, that A plus G, A and G are purines, is always equal to C plus T, they are pyrimidine. Okay, so A plus G is equal to C plus T, and we can also write this like A plus G, this will come here, C plus T is equal to 1. So the ratio of A plus G upon C plus T is equals to 1. So this is the Chargaff's rule. Okay, so this is very important in context of the exam. The next thing is what are the hydrophilic and hydrophobic regions of DNA. Okay, so the 10th point is hydrophobic and hydrophilic. I will write here hydrophilic region. Okay, so DNA has a very interesting arrangement. Okay, so when you will see the structure of DNA, you will find that the backbone of DNA that consists of sugar and phosphate. Okay, sugar and phosphate. The backbone is always present outside. Okay, outside, because the sugar and phosphate are hydrophilic in nature. Okay, and so we'll write that the sugar and phosphate are hydrophilic. Okay, that's why it always present outside the DNA, because DNA is present in the cell which is aqueous in nature. So for the stability purpose, it should be present outside. Okay, and the nitrogenous bases which is hydrophobic in nature always present inside the DNA, because to stay away from the aqueous solution of DNA. So the nitrogenous bases, these bases are hydrophobic in nature. Nitrogenous base. Okay, so this was about hydrophobic region and hydrophilic region. Next thing we'll discuss about the types of bond. What are the bonds that are present in DNA? Okay, so I will write here. So this is the 11th point. Types of bond. Okay, so there are two type of bonds present in DNA. One is hydrogen bond and second is covalent bonds. Okay, and under covalent bonds there are two type of bonds occur. First is N-glycosidic bond and second is phosphodiester bond. Okay, now I will show you all the bonds in this diagram. So here you can see that these are the hydrogen bonds. Okay, these are the hydrogen bonds. Okay, and this bond is an glycosidic bond through which the sugar and nitrogenous bases are attached. So this is an glycosidic bond and this is hydrogen bond, and this bond is the phosphodiester bond. Phosphodiester bond. Okay, so phosphodiester bond and N-glycosidic bonds are the covalent bonds, and this is the hydrogen bond. So this was about the bonding in DNA. Okay, so the next thing is about stability of DNA. So next thing is stability. Okay, stability of DNA, and there are some effects and some bonds which provide stability to the DNA structure, and I am going to write all those things. First is hydrogen bond. Okay, second is hydrophobic effect. Okay, third is base stacking interaction. Fourth is van der Waals force, and fifth and last is ionic interaction. Okay, so these are the things, these are which provides stability to the DNA. So we'll discuss one by one. So I already discussed about the hydrogen bonding that is present between the nitrogenous bases. As you can see here, that hydrogen bonds are present between the guanine and cytosine and thymine and adenine. So the hydrogen bases are used to hold both the strands of the DNA. Okay, so it provides a stability to the DNA. Second thing is hydrophobic effect. Okay, so I will give you example to understand the hydrophobic effect. Suppose there is a glass in which you have kept water, and you know that water is hydrophilic in nature. Okay, and now you have put some hydrophobic molecules in the water. So what will happen? Those hydrophobic molecules will try to stay away from the water molecules and will come closer to each other. Okay, and to avoid the interaction with hydrophilic water molecules, they will come closer to each other. Okay, so this is known as hydrophobic effect. Hydrophobic effect basically is to stay away from the hydrophilic molecules and to stay close. All the hydrophobic molecules come closer with each other. Okay, same thing happens in the DNA. Okay, so what happens in the DNA? DNA has a very interesting arrangement of atoms and molecules. So you will see in the structure of DNA that the hydrophilic molecules like sugar and phosphate are arranged outside the DNA, and the hydrophobic nitrogenous bases are arranged inside the DNA. Okay, so because DNA molecule is present in the cell, and cell is aqueous in nature. Okay, so these nitrogenous bases are hydrophobic in nature, and to avoid water molecule, okay, to avoid aqueous solution, they come closer to each other. Okay, so nitrogenous bases comes closer to each other and get stacked with each other. Okay, that is also known as base stacking, and base stacking is very important for the stability of DNA. Okay, so third thing is base stacking. Okay, so hydrophobic effect generally helps in the base stacking. Okay, hydrophobic effect generally helps in the base stacking. Okay, so suppose this is a base pair. Okay, and this is another base pair. So this is one base pair like A T, and this is another base pair G C. So this is one base pair and this is second base pair. Okay, and now you will see that there are water molecules present around this. Okay, so what will happen? They both are hydrophobic in nature. Okay, so they both are hydrophobic in nature. So what will happen? They both will try to go closer to each other. Okay, so it will try to go towards the AT, and AT will try to come towards the GC. Okay, so this is hydrophobic effect. To stay away from the hydrophilic molecules, okay, hydrophilic conditions, hydrophobic molecules try to come closer. Okay, and this is also known as base stacking, when bases are try to stack with each other to avoid the hydrophilic conditions. This is known as base stacking interaction. Okay, base stacking interaction is also known as pi-pi interaction. Okay, so what is pi-pi interaction? What is pi-pi stacking? Actually, pi-pi stacking is a non-covalent type of interaction, and it occurs between the aromatic rings. Okay, you know that the nitrogen basis contains the aromatic rings. Okay, and these aromatic rings contain pi bonds. Okay, and because it has also pi bond, this nitrogen base also has pi bond, this nitrogen base also has pi bonds. Okay, so there is pi-pi interaction occurs between the pi bonds of two different aromatic rings. Okay, this is known as pi-pi interaction and also known as base stacking interaction. Okay, so the strength of the stacking depends on the composition of base pairs. Okay, so suppose if there will be two GC base consecutive GC base pairs. Okay, then there will be strongest stacking. Okay, there will be strongest stacking between GC base pairs. Okay, but if there will be two AT base pairs, consecutive AT base pairs, then there will be weak stacking. Okay, so stacking depends on the composition of base pairs. Always remember, this is important in context of exam. So GC, when there will be two consecutive GC base pairs, there will be strongest base stacking. Okay, now what is the cause of stacking? Okay, what is the force behind the stacking? As I already told you that hydrophobic force is responsible for the stacking. So the base pairs are actually planar structure, but these planar structure stacks on top of one another. Okay, at a distance of 3.4 angstrom. As you can see here, that the distance of between two base pairs is 3.4 angstrom. Okay, so the base pairs are planar structure. So you can see here that the base planar structure, but they are stacked on top of one another with a distance of 3.4 angstrom due to the hydrophobic effect. Okay, so the stacked base pairs attract each other, okay, through van der Waals forces. Okay, and if you do you know van der Waals forces? Van der Waals forces or van der Waals distance is the distance at which two molecules are attracted to each other. Okay, two molecules are attracted to each other. Okay, and if this distance, okay, so suppose this is one molecule and this is second molecule. Okay, so if they cannot come closer beyond this point, okay, then this distance, the distance between these two molecules is the van der Waals distance. Okay, and if this distance reduces, the electrons of the these two molecules may overlap and causing repulsion. Okay, so this is the van der Waals forces which is present between the two base pairs, and the distance is 3.4 angstrom. Okay, now fifth. So base tagging interaction done, van der Waals force is done. Now fifth is ionic interaction. Okay, now you can see here that the DNA is negatively charged. Okay, there are negative charge present in the sugar phosphate backbone, DNA backbone. Okay, so these negative charges, okay, these are the electrostatic. There is the electrostatic ion repulsion between the two negatively charged. Okay, which provides the DNA stability. Okay, so these were the 5 bonds and effect which generally provides the stability to the DNA. Okay, so the last but very important thing about the structure of DNA is grooves. Okay, so what are grooves? So the double helical structure of DNA is like an imaginary cylinder. Okay, and if you will see here, then you will find that it is not completely filled. Okay, you can see here there are lot of empty spaces around the double helical DNA structure. Here you can see lot of empty spaces here and here. So these empty spaces are actually known as grooves. Okay, so these grooves are formed because of the orientation of base pairs. Okay, and there are two grooves. One is minor groove. Okay, that is around 12 angstrom in length, and another is major groove. Major groove, that is around 22 angstrom in length. Okay, now so these grooves separate the two sugar phosphate backbones. Here you can see that this is one sugar phosphate backbone and this is another sugar phosphate backbone. So grooves separate the sugar phosphate backbone. Okay, and next thing is you can see here that the minor groove is narrow and shallow. In contrast, the major groove is deep and wide. Okay, so in major groove there is lot of empty space, but these empty space are very important, because if you will imagine the structure of 3D, if you will imagine the 3D structure of DNA, then you can also imagine that here the bases are present, nitrogenous bases are present, and the edges of those nitrogenous bases are actually exposed in these major and minor groups. Okay, and the exposed edges of those bases act as the binding pockets for the DNA binding protein that ultimately helps in the replication and transcription. Okay, so these major groups and minor groups are helps in the binding of DNA binding protein while replication and transcription. Okay, so this was all about major and minor group. Okay, so I hope you like this video. If you like